Histamine tolerance is a big problem. It's a huge problem. And too many people, including myself, have struggled with histamine intolerance for decades, and it's miserable. And so you're basically not diagnosed, you even know you have histamine intolerance for so long because, well, I don't know. I actually don't know why anymore, because nowadays it's talked about. But the problem with histamine intolerance, their testing for it is pretty bad. So if you just test for histamine levels, your body breaks down histamine really quickly, and your histamine can be not even elevated on your test. And there's other labs you can do, but I don't even like to use labs for histamine intolerance. I like to just point out symptoms, nosebleeds, irritability, headaches, eczema, psoriasis, difficulty breathing, asthma, exercise-induced asthma. All these things are related to histamine. Pregnancy complications, all histamine. Gut issues. I mean, it's a myriad of disorders. And so what I want to share with you is somebody shared with me and others today, I removed their name for privacy, how they learned that they are struggling with histamine intolerance, and they wanted to take a histamine intolerant supportive supplement called DAO enzyme. So it's a DAO enzyme, and it's designed to break down histamine in their gut. And if you do that, if you eat histamine containing foods or drink histamine containing drinks like wine or kombucha or anything else that's fermented or citrus, if you take a DAO enzyme, your symptoms should improve. And if you're consuming fish or leftovers or kombucha or sauerkrauts or any type of high histamine containing foods, cheeses, aged meats, these types of things can trigger people. And if they take a DAO enzyme, they can eat them and they feel so much better and everything's great. But for this lady, it didn't work out, right? So this is what she commented here today. And so, this is you. Yeah, I hear you, Michelle. It was me too. I had nosebleeds my entire childhood, and it was really annoying. And I had eczema. I couldn't fall asleep at night. I just stare at the ceiling. It was a problem. So here she's talking about 23andMe failed to report her DAO results. DAO is a gene in your body that resides in multiple places, especially your small intestine and your large intestine, but your small intestine is a big one. And placenta is another, ladies, since it's associated with pregnancy complications. But her DAO gene, she did 23andMe, but 23andMe didn't test DAO, just didn't even look at it, didn't care, for their own reasons. And, everybody has their own focus. My focus is looking at genetic variants that have an impact on our lives, our everyday lives, and wanting to know if they're faster or slower. Because if your DAO gene is slower, then if you consume histamine-containing foods or drinks, or you have bugs in your gut that increase histamine, or you're taking probiotics that increase histamine, you're going to have issues. And so when she did her StrateGene results, which you're seeing here, she says it's well worth the wait and every penny for this pathway clarification alone. And this is only one pathway out of many. So she's supporting her Lyme. She could ask a million questions about the results, I bet. And I'm going to go over them with you here in a second. Her primary question is, why does this DAO supplement not work for me? So I'm going to focus on that one. I'm going to leave the vitamin C and oxalates out the door. I'm not going to even talk about that. Oxalates are typically gut issues, gallbladder issues. So that's a separate story. But so why is the DAO supplement not working? So let's look at this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So this is her histamine pathway. And so this is what the StrateGene test will provide you. So you can get StrateGene at stratagene.me, and that website you can learn more about it. And there's a quiz there. I don't want anybody to just order StrateGene because it's not for everyone. I mean, looking at this, right, you can tell immediately, it's like, whoa, I don't want to learn that. So if you're gung-ho, you're struggling for years, health professionals aren't helping you, you are driven and dedicated to learning more about how your body works, and you want to learn how epigenetics and genetics tie in as a holistic view, you're going to love StrateGene. If you want to get answers from somebody and not really put the work in and the time in because you're too tired or too busy, or you're not really driven to learn, or you have difficulty learning, then don't get StrateGene. Okay. So, but you can get it at stratagene.me, and the link is posted below. So you can see here, her DAO gene right here is slow. So if her DAO gene is born slow, you can see this purple line. So you can see here on the key, slow. So her DAO gene is slow. And these little round things are genes. These bubble-looking things are genes. So and histamine is right here. So histidine with vitamin B6 goes through this gene, histidine decarboxylase, and makes your body's histamine. It makes it. And then it comes over and it can go down this route, or it can go this way and get stored in your cells, and then it gets released. Or histamine in your gut. See, you probably can't read it here. It's kind of blurry. But this is in your gut, in your placenta, and it comes from food, drink, or your microbiome. And so this gene is heavily involved with processing histamine from food, drink, and your microbiome. And hers is born slow. So she has a reduced ability to process histamine from food or drink or from the microbiome. Blastocystis hominis is a bug that lives in your gut that's pervasive in all of us, for a lot of us actually. Some are saying it's bad and some are saying it's fine. I had it, and when I got rid of it, my histamine tolerance went way, way down. So now I'm more histamine tolerant. So identifying gut bugs is important. Plus I stopped taking probiotics that were problematic for me. But her question is, why, when I take a DAO enzyme, do I not feel good? Because if this particular gene is slow and she's getting histamine from food and drink and bacteria, then you would think by her supplementing with DAO, it would improve, but it didn't. You have to look at the whole picture. And that's what genetic testing is so problematic for the most part, because when you do genetic testing, you get your results back. It can say, oh, you have DAO and it's not there. You don't have it. Or they say, oh, you do have the DAO genetic variant and that's bad, and take a DAO supplement. Well, she took the DAO supplement. She felt worse. So why? Well, when you order StrateGene, you get the whole picture approach. You get the genetics and the epigenetics. And so I can answer that question easily, and so can you, when you understand how this thing works. Histamine is formed and then it's broken down entirely. Histamine is formed. It's also broken down entirely this way. Histamine is formed here and it's transported, stored, and released over here. So pathways and StrateGene have this approach where you learn how compounds are formed, transported, bind to receptors, and eliminated. And so she has a reduced ability to break this down from DAO, and the next gene is also slow. So if she takes a DAO supplement, which she feels worse. Why? Because the DAO enzyme that she's consuming is taking the histamine and it's breaking it down into what's called imidazole acetaldehyde. Okay, who cares? Well, look, follow the arrows. If she's taking the DAO supplement to process histamine, it produces imidazole acetaldehyde, and the next gene to break down this red compound is imidazole acetaldehyde is the ALDH gene. Look, it is also slow. It's slow too. So if she's deficient in green things, what's green mean? Green, if you look over here, is the cofactor. Cofactors enzymes need, and so she may be low in zinc or niacin. Okay, if she's low in zinc or niacin, this gene will not function, and it's already born slow. So if she's deficient in zinc or niacin, it's even slower. But that's not it. What if she has this purple stuff? What's the purple stuff? This is where you need to have genetics and epigenetics, both, because her zinc and niacin could be totally fine. She could have sufficient zinc and it's totally fine. Hey, Cher. So if she has sufficient zinc and niacin, then what do? I'm taking the DAO enzyme. I'm supplementing with that. I'm supplementing with the zinc and the niacin, and I'm not seeing much improvement. Well, are you still guessing? Most genetic tests you'd still be guessing. With StrateGene, you're not. Look, it could be elevated reactive oxygen species, meaning high oxidative stress, free radicals. It could be low glutathione levels, particularly low PQQ, reactive nitrogen species. So Elevated iron can be a problem here, elevated copper. Maybe she's taking aspirin for pain or blood clots, NSAIDs, oxidized fatty acids. Maybe she's taking a fish oil that's inferior. It's cheap. She can get it online for $10 versus, my company where it's probably $30 or $40 for a fish oil, but it's IFOS certified. It's super clean. So maybe she's skipping out, and trying to save money. Now, increased age. As we age, this gene also slows down. So when you understand the big picture of how she's taking the DAO supplement and she's taking it, but she feels worse, the DAO supplement is producing this imidazole acetaldehyde and it's slowing the DAO gene down. Look at this red word. So there's this term right here called feedback inhibition. So if she's taking DAO enzyme, it's converting the histamine as it should and designed. It's producing this imidazole acetaldehyde, which comes back and it slows the DAO enzyme down even more. So she's taking an enzyme, and enzymes take something and convert it into something else, right? It's like you buy flour, you can turn it into pancakes or bread or French toast or what have you, right? So she's got this excess amount of imidazole acetaldehyde. It's slowing down her DAO enzyme even more. She keeps taking the DAO enzyme, but she feels worse from it because aldehydes are terrible. They're super toxic. That's why this word is colored in red. Red. Okay, that's toxic stuff. So she needs to support the ALDH gene first. If she supports the ALDH gene and cleans it up, she has a dirty ALDH gene, she cleans it up possibly with zinc or niacin, that's vitamin B3, and ideally, she removes this purple stuff because purple says right here, decreases activity. See that? So the gene is in the bubble. Decreasing activity is the purple stuff. Green are the cofactors which help the enzyme go. Increasing activity is the stuff in orange. Orange, for this particular gene, zinc, hydrogen sulfide, which is produced by the CBS genes, a different pathway, or niacin can speed this particular gene up. So she needs to do two things. She needs to speed up the gene to get rid of the imidazole acetaldehyde, and she needs to remove the things that are slowing it down. And that are this purple stuff, the reactive oxygen species, reactive nitrogen species. Stop taking the aspirin if she can, but if she can't stop taking the aspirin, she needs to talk with her doctor about taking possibly a different thing for reducing her blood clots. Maybe she has a dirty NOS3 gene. On her report, she can learn about that too. Reading the book Dirty Genes will help. So oxidized fatty acids, how do you get those? Well, if you cook your food on a stove or in the oven and you're using things like, corn oil or cheap oils and you're cooking on a high heat, you're going to have oxidized oils. The best oils to cook with, avocado oil or ghee, top two. Why? Because they have a high smoke point. If you are cooking and you're not using avocado oil or ghee, then you are going to get oxidized fatty acids. You're going to slow down your ALDH gene, and you are going to have higher levels of imidazole acetaldehyde, and you're going to slow down your DAO enzyme, and you're going to have histamine intolerance. You see how that all works? So it's really cool when you can visually see this, right? I need water, and I don't have it up here. I was too excited to start this video. And honestly, too lazy to go down a flight of stairs to get it. So histamine here, but she also has histamine genetics elsewhere. And so these are the genes that process histamine that are inside the cell. And so she has a reduced ability to process histamine inside her cell. How do we know that? Because she did the StrateGene genetic test. So the HNMT gene was born slower for her. You can see right here, slow. This purple line right here is slow. So she's born with a slow ability to process histamine inside the cell. She's born with a reduced ability to process DAO enzyme outside the cell. So both slow. And to top that off, she is born with a gene that is a histamine receptor that is fast. See that? This orange means fast. So she has a heightened receptor to bind histamine. And when you have you have a receptor that is more, has a higher affinity to bind histamine, you're going to get a higher histamine response. You see how that works? So she has a reduced ability to get rid of it. She has a heightened ability to trigger the histamine, both. So, and then here, she has reduced ability to get rid of histamine through this gene requires methylation. And then she has a faster MAO-B, and she has a slower MAO-A, and again, a slower ALDH. So isn't this really cool how you can see this visually? And Dale just commented here, cavernoma surgery. Yeah, I thought you were going to say carnivore diet. Part of my second monitor is blocked. So the carnivore diet, the paleo diet, the GAPS diet, these are all high protein diets. Okay. Now, high protein is great when you're trying to recover from a surgery, or you're growing, or you're trying to gain muscle, right? Because these protein is it's anabolic. It can help you grow. But if you are my computer is glitching. If you are consuming too much protein, it can be a problem. There's something called nitrogen balance. But look, protein contains histidine. Okay. So if you are consuming high amounts of protein, then you are consuming higher levels of histidine, which then can be the building block for more histamine. So I'm not here to say stop eating protein. I'm saying here to watch your histamine containing foods and also watch your protein intake. And supporting with vitamin B6 is useful, but you need to also support with all of these. So it's I've got a lot of cool things in the works here to support this, but visually StrateGene is amazing because it gives you an insight as to what can be going on, and it gives you strategic ability to identify what you can do, when you can do it, and why you should do it. Because again, she was taking the DAO enzyme, was feeling worse. Now she understands that she was producing this imidazole acetaldehyde, which sends feedback inhibition, slows the DAO gene down. Also, she's making hydrogen peroxide and ammonia from processing histamine. Okay. So this is just a natural byproduct of the gene when it's working. Okay. So the DAO enzyme naturally produces ammonia and naturally produces hydrogen peroxide. So I'm going to go into more detail about the histamine pathway, and I'm doing webinars on StrateGene, and we're in the new year, we're going to be doing more and more and more, and I do it for health professionals too. But I'm going to try to keep these videos short and to the point and be targeted, because I can spend hours and hours and hours on just this one pathway here for you. But her main question was, I'm taking the DAO enzyme, I feel worse. Why? You feel worse because here's the DAO, you were supporting the DAO enzyme, and it was slow for you. You're born with a slow DAO gene. You were supplementing with it. You were processing the histamine and converting it to this imidazole acetaldehyde. But I believe that the ALDH gene is slowed down. So you need to reduce whatever is slowing this gene down, which is the aspirin, possibly NSAIDs, oxidized fatty acids, age. You can't do anything about that. You can slow down the reactive nitrogen species and reactive oxygen species, and you can add some zinc and niacin, okay? And then you can also support probably with some glutathione over here, because the hydrogen peroxide is probably being produced. And you can probably also support the ammonia metabolism using things like alpha-ketoglutarate, acetyl L-carnitine, or ornithine. And also identifying infections and stressors are big ones. So pretty cool, right? Straez, does wheat trigger histamine release? Great question. So over here where it says release, I know it's kind of blurry. She took this picture here. So what triggers release is stress, infections, exercise, inflammation, allergies, trauma, shock, plastics, BPA, acetaldehyde, and alcohol. And look at this, acetaldehyde. I can look at these pathways all the time, and I'm still picking stuff up. Acetaldehyde triggers the release of histamine. And look, that's another answer. Thank you, Straez. Look, so she was taking histamine enzyme, DAO enzyme, to process, here's the histamine, we'll follow the arrows. It gets converted by the DAO enzyme that she was supplementing with, right? You can buy DAO enzymes, and then it converts it into imidazole acetaldehyde. But the acetaldehyde right here can increase the release of histamine. I've been staring at this pathway for years. I just saw that, right? So that's also the cool thing about StrateGene is it uncovers things that you don't have to memorize. Albert Einstein said, never memorize anything you look up. I and my team looked up all this research over years of work. So this is years of work you're staring at. It's all cited from research. And it's just so much information that you uncover things all the time. And I just missed that. So the acetaldehyde is increasing the release. And your question, Soraya, is specifically, does wheat increase histamine release? If it causes you inflammation, yes. If you're allergic or intolerant to wheat, yes. Any foods that you are intolerant to or struggling with are going to increase inflammation, and it's an allergy that's going to trigger a histamine release. So you have to avoid your triggers. You have to avoid the allergens. You have to avoid the food intolerances. Are there any resources for us to find out about certain foods hit the pathways? Yeah, so absolutely. We talk about, well, US Biotech is a food allergy. Well, it's a lab testing company that I personally use and recommend, and I talk about them in my book, Dirty Genes, too. But in the back of the book, Dirty Genes, there's a reference there for lab testing, and you get a copy of Dirty Genes when you order StrateGene as well. So you get the StrateGene DNA kit, plus you get a copy of Dirty Genes, plus we give you recipes in the book which support the DAO enzyme. You also learn which foods that you shouldn't eat or minimize, and foods that you should eat that support it, okay? So you get all that, and also StrateGene report dives in to learning more about which foods you should and shouldn't eat as well. So I've been talking about the StrateGene report quite a bit here. So I'm going to show you where you can get that and drag this over here. Should switch back, but I didn't. I'm learning all this stuff. So here, this is StrateGene.me website. So you can come here to StrateGene.me. And I want you to take this quiz, okay? I want you to take this quiz because it's not right for you. So you're going to figure that out, and you'll go from there, okay? But StrateGene does a lot of cool things. So, all right. And let's see any other questions here. I'm going to go back to Cam. My team just set this up. It's pretty sweet. Marilyn, yeah, you're welcome. So I'm going to be doing a lot more YouTube lives like this. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and click the bell so when you're notified I go live. I'm getting off the Facebook platform, or reducing my time on Facebook. I'm reducing my time on Instagram. I want to create content that is searchable by Google. I want to create content that's searchable within YouTube. And we're also going to turn these into transcripts and blog posts. And my team is going to cut highlight sections and put them on social media and Facebook. But you're going to see me less and less on Facebook, less and less on Instagram for various reasons. And you're going to see me more and more on Facebook Live. So click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, give a thumbs up if you like the video to help the stats and metrics for the video so it rises to the top for people so they can learn. And then also leave a comment below like you're doing. I'm pretty interactive with my audience. I love supporting you all. And you'll also find links and additional comments within the description of the video for taking further action as well. Yeah, exactly. Straya is right. Michelle, how much support does one get with StrateGene? Michelle, you get a heap amount of support. And I'm going to show you here. There's health professionals that we're training right now. In fact, I just did a webinar for health professionals just a couple days ago. But let's say you bought your StrateGene kit and you activated it and you sent it in, you got your results, and you log in, and you get a copy of the book, Dirty Genes, so that comes with it. So when you log in, what you're going to see is all the test kits that you've ordered, okay? And this is my family. So you're seeing my portal. And you go to education portal. So within your education portal, there's a lot of stuff. Okay. There's a quick start guide, how to understand your StrateGene report, which is a must read. We give you the Dirty Genes course, which is an extension of the book. It's not the book. It's an extension of the book. And if you look here at the lessons, foundations of health, where should we start, and then we break things down into air, shelter, water, food. The food one is really important. And then we have a consult where you see me using someone's StrateGene report and their labs and their laundry list quizzes from the book. You can see how I do that. So there's a video for that. There's a couple of interviews. And then here's another video. I just did a whole, a webinar on how to understand your StrateGene report. And there's 7 genes explained. And then there's some case studies. So you can see it's pretty extensive. Okay. So you get a lot of good stuff. Yeah. And are there any sites that you might have a StrateGene group? For those that's not on Facebook, just scratch the StrateGene report. So that's a great question. I'm working with my team to create a platform to engage within our own platform. I'm with you. I'm not a fan of Facebook. I'm not a fan of Instagram. So I want to work something out. So I'm going to be pushing my team more and see where we are with that. We're rebuilding our website as we speak, and hopefully we are adding something there. But I hear you. As of now, just comment on the YouTube videos. And I don't know if we have comments within the Learning Center, but I will talk with my team about that. So yeah, what also is cool about StrateGene is I want to show you this. So it's a complicated thing. It is. And, I've been doing this for, a decade plus my medical training, plus my undergrad was in cellular molecular biology. So, I've got 20 years plus on you, in terms of science, background. Maybe you've got the same amount or more than I do, making an assumption there. But what I want to share with you here is, so here's my wife, right? So let's say I wanted to share my wife's profile with her doctor, right? Never treat your family. So shared profiles. I can go here, I can click shared profiles, and then, well, that's not it. So my profiles, but I can view, I screwed that up. You can go to view, and then when you view your own data, so here's my wife's report, which she's given me permission to share with you. You can go to her raw data, and you can search the raw data, and you can also download it. You can click this link to download your raw data, and you can also share your data with people, okay? So you can type the username of the health professional or the friend that has a StrateGene account, and then you can select which profile you want to share, and then you can share just the report, or you can share the report and the raw data to them, and you can check these boxes and then click share, okay? So that's pretty handy. Cool. Yeah. So, look, I'm not going to, StrateGene is difficult. And I always share this concept with people that when you create something as innovative as StrateGene, it's a dilemma. And there's a book called Innovator's Dilemma. When you create something that's so high level or so far ahead of what is currently available, then it creates a sense of overwhelm for the user, and it's not very useful. So we've released StrateGene, and now we're catching up, honestly, for the training and the education. But we're getting there. We've hired and great people that's on the team. We've got Elizabeth Lambert on the team. We've got Tom Malter. We've got some fantastic folks on the team. We've got Angela. We've got Claire, Christian. So we've got a great team that's behind the scenes that you never really see. Elizabeth, you'll see more. Tom, you'll probably see. Angela and Claire, you probably won't. But behind the scenes, we're working. I got a team working on StrateGene right now as we speak, and I need to get back to it as well. But we're always expanding, always learning, always sharing. And my goal is to empower you with genetics, not scare the hell out of you with it. And I've learned that a lot of people are scared of getting genetic testing. I used to be terrified of genetic testing. Now I'm excited about it, because when you learn, like this lady learned today, where her genetic test is slower. So look at what this lady learned. She learned that she has a reduced ability to process histamine out of her body. She has a reduced ability to process it inside of her gut, and she has a reduced ability to get rid of it in her placenta and her brain, and she has an enhanced ability to trigger it. She learned that. Now, is that scary? Initially, yes. But is it empowering after you learn what to do about it? Absolutely. When you learn to reduce the stress, because stress increases the formation and the release of histamine, you can control that. You also learn that bisphenol A and alcohol triggers a release. Well, you can control that. Allergies, food allergies. Oh, I haven't been really, compliant on eliminating gluten out of my diet, but wow, I've been really struggling with histamine. I'm going to really pull that gluten out of my diet right now. And you can also learn what supplements you should take and why, and how all these genes interact with each other. So it's really, really cool. StrateGene is the first, and I believe only, genetic test out there that is a holistic view. And you cannot look at just genes. If you just look at genes, you're going to miss the boat. And a lot of people do that. So I'm telling you now, do not just get your StrateGene report and see that you have a slow DAO and wonder what supplement you should take. No, you gotta be saying, well, maybe she's also has gut inflammation. Maybe she's diabetic and she's taking metformin. See that? Metformin slows her DAO enzyme. So that gives you an insight to go to your doctor and say, Doc, I'm struggling with all these histamine symptoms. I'm taking metformin, and look what it's doing to my DAO gene, and it's already born slow. Look, Doc, my DAO enzyme is slow right here. And you prescribe me metformin. Unknowingly, you didn't know probably that it interferes with my DAO enzyme. It is, and I'm struggling with all this stuff. I got diarrhea, gas, bloating, irritability. I can't fall asleep. My skin is itching. I got leaky gut. Please, switch me off this thing. So you can come to your health professional. I didn't share my screen. So you can come to your health professional, but right here, you can see metformin right there. Metformin, gut inflammation, slows the DAO gene down. Okay. So you go to your doctor and you show them this. You actually print this page out. StrateGene is about 100, for this lady, it was 127 pages of information, but you just look at the pathways and you start there. Okay. So I'm going to go back to this. Yeah. All right. So was that good? Helpful? Thumbs up. So if you enjoyed it, give it a like, and appreciate your comments and your support. And if you're interested in learning about you, then order StrateGene, and so you can figure out how to optimize your own life and feel better. All right. Take care.